Riala guided the two human intruders inside her store, the poison constantly dripping from her tentacles, failing to scare the fools, just like her unusual appearance had.
"So, will you help us find the guy who can fix our ship?"
said the one called Daniel. Riala ignored the human as she walked among the shelves filled with vials of various colors, looking for the glass she intended to use for her challenge. She was sure that just the mention of drinking the poison of her tentacles as a condition for her help would scare those fools. If there was one thing that living alone all those years in Limiar City had taught her, it was that one should never help strangers, regardless of species. Besides, the Pavilion of Vials was not a place one came for information. She sold medicines and poisons, and that was a heavily regulated business. Daniel interrupted her search among the vials, his voice edged with impatience as he repeated the same irritating question.
"Will you help us find the finder guy who can help us with our ship, alien lady?"
Riala turned toward the two humans, her gaze hiding none of the anger that was building inside at their insistence. She marked them in her mind, the tallest and most annoying one, Daniel, and the mysterious one, Kyle, who seemed to have forgotten he could speak as he inspected a shelf of the worst poisons Limiar City had to offer. She finally spotted the glass she was looking for beside Kyle and rushed to grab it without a care in the world to avoid letting her wet head tentacles stain their garments. She did this with full awareness of how most species found her form disgusting and were repelled by her and her bodily fluids. She controlled one of her head tentacles in a way that was purposely menacing, the appendage moving like one of Medusa's snakes. Taking active control of her poison glands, she let the drops of green poison fall into the glass in quick succession, all of it under the watchful eyes of the two humans who now looked properly scared, as they should have been from the beginning.
"My name is Riala,"
she said, her voice cold and formal.
"and I am a Vizar, probably rarer here in Limiar City than humans themselves."
She held up the glass filled with green poison, the liquid shining green.
"I will tell you about the human finder if you agree to drink my poison."
She was certain they would excuse themselves from her store now, just like every other alien that came here for anything other than her chemicals. She could feel the disgust in their eyes, and the sight stirred a mix of emotions within her. The logical side of her mind knew this was the natural reaction any sapient being should have toward her and her green fluid, that no one besides other Vizar would ever take on that offer. But that disgust still hurt her a tiny bit. After all, years had passed since she had found another Vizar and experienced any sort of proximity.
"We're not drinking that,"
Daniel said firmly, taking a step back.
"You should have just refused us directly if you thought any of us would drink your weird fluid."
Those words hurt a tiny bit too, despite her not really understanding why. All she wanted was for them to be gone. Yet now that Daniel turned to leave, she felt a bad taste in her mouth. She just held the glass tight and stared at the ground, when suddenly the quieter human spoke.
"I'll drink it,"
Kyle said simply. Daniel looked back at his brown-haired friend and said,
"Are you crazy, dude?"
He shook his head in disbelief.
"I know you're not exactly right in the head, but drinking poison from the weird alien lady is too much even for you."
Kyle took those words as a challenge and grabbed the glass from her hand in a sudden move, gulping it down in 3 huge swallows before she could say anything or even think of stopping him. Panic flooded through her as she stared at the empty glass.
"You weren't supposed to do that,"
she exclaimed, her voice rising in alarm.
"I don't have an antidote for humans."
She began pacing frantically, her tentacles writhing with agitation.
"It kills Zelkari in 40 minutes, Gorthons in 20.
Her voice cracked with fear.
For warm-blooded creatures, it's typically just 10 agonizing minutes.
Was that really poison? I can't believe you're that much of a psycho.
Daniel said loudly, his face tense as reality hit him. Before Riala could process that Daniel had shifted into full fight-or-flight mode, he lunged forward in a blur, seizing her by the shoulders and slamming her against the shelves of her store. Glass vials tumbled down in a chain of shattering impacts, one after another.
Do something! Your poison is killing him!
He said, his grip tightening as colorful liquids pooled around their feet. Riala's heart raced, her mind not even considering the implications of Limiar City's rules and how she might be punished. Her thoughts were obscured, not by the violent attack, but by the realization her challenge had killed someone. She had killed someone. The moment she realized she would be punched by the tall human, she closed her eyes and froze completely, yet seconds passed in agonizing silence, and the expected blow never came. When she opened her eyes again, she found Kyle standing protectively in front of her, having apparently pushed the other human away. He was breathing harder than normal, but his gaze was gentle as it met hers, making her heart skip a beat. Then he turned to Daniel, who was sprawled on the ground among the scattered vials.
Chill, dude.
Kyle said, his voice steady despite his quickened breathing.
She's a Vizar. Humans don't die from their poison.
He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand.
It tasted like honey, and the side effects are like a hangover from drinking prison wine. But humans are immune. I'm not that crazy.
Daniel's eyes went wide, but he said nothing. Riala noticed that her legs had failed her at some point without her realizing it, and now she was on her knees among the broken glass and spilled chemicals. She looked up into Kyle's eyes, not asking about the destruction of her store or the violence she had suffered, but something else entirely.
Did my poison feel disgusting?
She whispered. Kyle looked surprised, then extended a hand to help her up. When she accepted, he replied,
I already told you it tasted like honey. The texture was too thick, but the taste was sweet and deceiving.
She finally snapped back to reality and began checking the destruction. Broken vials scattered across the floor, colorful chemicals pooling and mixing into strange new hues. She noticed the strange look in Daniel's eyes as he raised himself back to his feet, then realized the absolute craziness of everything that had unfolded in the past 5 minutes. Humans showing up in her store, her trying to make them go away, the boldness of the one called Kyle, and how everything felt like a dream she wasn't able to tell if she loved or hated. Kyle's laughter brought her back to reality, and he apologized with that same gentle smile.
We'll help you clean this mess and find a way to pay for the damage,
he said, stepping carefully around the broken glass.
But I won your challenge, and I want to know everything you know about the finder who can fix our ship.
She nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her defeat settle on her shoulders.
You won,
she said, glancing around at the shattered remains of her once orderly store, but relieved that Kyle would remain very much alive.
The finder you're looking for, Paul, operates out of the lower districts.
She paused, watching Kyle help Daniel to his feet.
But if you think finding him and getting his help will be a simple task, you're terribly mistaken.
As she surveyed the chaos and the 2 humans who had turned her quiet evening upside down, Riala realized that this night with the crazily indescribable humans would still be very long, and surprisingly, she now found herself looking forward to it.
Thank you for watching the 3rd chapter of the Finder series. You can find the link to the next chapter in the video description. You can also like the video and subscribe to increase your chances of being notified whenever we post a new one. Hiss.